everybody, welcome back to Ogre Speed Shop. Today we're going to go over what I was talking about in my one of my tool videos about how a micrometer works, how do you read it, and how it works and how it measures. So let's go ahead and get into it, and it's a little tutorial on how to use a micrometer. Talk about a little bit of measurement, normal measurement with fractions. If you look at this tape measure, you can see that the different fractional numbers are on there. So you start with 1/8, and what we're going to be doing is converting that to decimal, and that's just done by dividing the top number by the bottom number. So 1 divided by 8, which is 0.125. So for a 1/4 inch, which is 1 divided by 4, would be 0.25, and say 3/8 would be 3 divided by 8 is 0.375, and so on. So that's what we're doing, is basically converting fraction to decimal in the standard measuring system, or SAE. Right, so one of the first things I want to show you is actually there's a proper way of holding these things. So you don't just dial it like this. You actually hold on to it with your hand like this. You put your one finger, your ring finger, through the end, and you hold on to it. You can spin it like that. So I hope you can see that. And if you want to go fast, you put it on your arm, you spin it out that way, spin it back. That allows you to work it with one hand rather than, so you can hold your piece with one hand and work the tool with the other. So they actually taught me that in school. It's how to properly hold the dial, or the micrometer. Okay, so this is basically the way it works. And we're only going to concentrate on the stuff to the right of the decimal point, which is, less than 1. And that's going to be our measurement we're going to talk about when using a micrometer. So you have your 10th, your 100th, your 1000th, and 10,000th places. That's all we're going to be covering, is those 4 places. You go above that, you got your 1s, 10s, 100s, 1000s. And you just basically add a TH to the back side of those numbers to get to what's below the decimal point. So anyways, let's get into how a micrometer works. So micrometer is set up to where you dial it down, you measure something in between these 2 points here. This is a 2 to 3 inch micrometer, but what we're going to talk about are these measurements right up here. And first one we're going to start with is the 0. You see the 0 mark right there. Let me back it off a little bit. See the 0 right there. So that right there would be, you dial it down to where this dial lines up with that line that the 0 is on. So when that comes around, you bring it and you move the 0 here to line up with that main line that goes the whole way across here. So the more I filmed this, the more I realized that it's almost impossible to see this scale here on the video. So I decided to enlarge it a little bit. So the way that works, so this is your dial here. This is going to be this line right here. As you can see right there, that line, that main line that you take your measurements off of. So that's why I transferred. I made a little bigger view of it on this. And this right here is going to be your dial. So that's going to be the dial going around. So that's going to be these numbers here. It's not exact. It's not the scale, obviously, and doesn't have the full amount of 25. But as I get into it, I'm going to explain what each one of them does as you spin it. So when you have 0, 0, your 0 line on your dial, so this dial here is lined up with your 0 line here. So like I said, the main line is that one that goes across here, which is this one in the middle. So when you start out with 0, 0, you're going to be right there. You're going to have the 0 lined up on that main line, and the edge of the dial, so this edge right here, this one right here, is going to be lined up with that first line. So that's 0, 0. So for every revolution of your dial you make, this is going to spin, obviously. It's going to move down as you go. But each one of these lines on that dial is 25 thousandths. So 0.025 on the scale of for your decimal. So you got 25 thousandths, 50 thousandths, 75 thousandths, and then your 100 thousandths. So as you spin the dial, you go from 0 and you start spinning, and this will move down. And each one of these lines, as it lines up, that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15, 20. It'll go to 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. When it comes back around to 0, which is 25 mark, because that's where the 25 is going to be. Because it doesn't actually go to 25, it goes to 20, as you see right there, and then back to 0. So now, it says made that dial, that one full revolution of the dial, you're on 25 thousandths and back to 0, and that 0 mark will be lined up with your main line, and the edge of the dial will be lined up with your first 25 thousandths mark. So it's just going to be keep doing the same thing. It's going to go, you know, as you spin the dial, it goes down and around, and back up to 0 to your 25, which would be 50 now. So for every 25, so 25, 50, 75, 100. So just as you as you spin the dial, it moves out, back to 0 to 75, and back to 100. So that's how the dial works. Okay, one of the other things I need to emphasize a little bit, okay, as this dial moves out, like I said, as it moves out, you know, it spins down and it goes, you know, 0 to 25 or 0 to 24, then back to 0. Well, after the 25 mark, you have to add whatever number this is to 25. So as you go, it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and so on and so forth. So this is where a little bit of math comes into play, is you have to add the 25 to whatever number comes up on the dial here. So it's from 0 to 24. And, you know, once you get to 50, again, it's 50 plus 5, 10, 15, anything in between. So as far as the 10 thousandths place, as far as on the dial goes, the way that works, I'm trying to bring it in here as close as possible. But you see how the lines start with 0. So you got 0, and you see the lines right there. So that's your 0 mark. But as you turn the dial, the next line lines up with that 1. So whichever line lines up, whichever of these numbers here lines up with whatever line lines up, that gives you your 4th place. So this place right here. So as you move it out, so that's 0. So the next line is going to be 1. Then you look right there. As it comes around, it's going to be 2. So it's very minor movements because this is a very small measurement. But as you dial it, that as they line up, there's your 4. 5 and 5 line up. 6, 7, 8, 9, and back to 0 basically. So it's going to be on your 1,000ths right there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and measure a piece of steel here to see, as a demonstration, what we get. I'm going to lock that down. So if you look, you can see, hopefully you can see. So right there's our main line, and we're below the 0. So that's at 24 thousandths. So it's a little bit more than 2 inches, so this is 2 inches. So we're looking at 24 thousandths plus whatever line lines up on here for your 4th line, which is 2. So our measurement ends up being 2, because we're at 2 inches, 0, 2, 4, 2. And that's how you read a micrometer. All right, that's going to finish up our video on how to read a micrometer. I hope I helped a few people out. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. And if you like this video, go leave a like down there. And there's Dick. He's bugging me, biting at my shoelaces. But anyways, so if you like the video, go leave a like. Leave me a comment. Let me know what I can do better. And if you have any questions on how to do that. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So until next time, I will see you all later.